Hospitals across Gaza are overwhelmed, short on supplies and fuel, and some are also being warned to evacuate because they could be targets. Now, so far, Israel insists it has not targeted a hospital, but under international law, could it? The laws of war are mostly based on the Geneva Conventions, which both Israel and the Palestinians have signed, and under those conventions, hospitals have special protection. So under Article 18, it says that civilian hospitals may in no circumstances be the object of attack. Now, thousands of people are currently taking shelter inside Gaza's hospitals, in addition to the sick and the wounded. But Israel says that hospitals are being used to shelter Hamas militants. In fact, it believes that a Hamas command and control center is located under Gaza's largest hospital, Al-Shifa. Now, the hospital denies this, but here's the IDF.
When medical facilities are used for terror purposes, they are liable to lose the protection from attack in accordance with international law.
That is true in theory. Article 19 of the Convention says that the protection to which civilian hospitals are entitled shall not cease unless they are used to commit acts harmful to the enemy. It goes on to say that protection may only cease after due warning has been given. Now, Noam Lubell, an expert on this subject at the University of Essex, says this requires Israel to send the equivalent of a cease and desist letter. They have to warn, give the hospital time to comply with that warning, or to actually evacuate. Now, Israel has dropped leaflets on northern Gaza telling people to leave immediately, and it says it has called the Al-Quds hospital here multiple times, warning them to evacuate already. There is no clear public evidence that hospitals are being used for military purposes, but even if they were, Lubell says you still have to consider a range of factors, including proportionality, which isn't always straightforward.
It's like if I were asking you, what's higher, the volume of my voice or the ceiling, right? Because we're comparing things that are measured in completely different units.
You can't say X number of weapons is worth X number of civilian lives.
No. At the same time, there are things that are obviously proportionate and things that are obviously disproportionate. And that's where this rule is useful, right? That's where, there are things where most people would agree. But anything in the middle, anything that's not extremely disproportionate or obviously proportionate, you're going to have different views.
So precisely what is proportional is not spelled out clearly in the convention. And the top prosecutor at the International Criminal Court also had a warning for both sides of the conflict.
There should be no doubt that every decision maker, from the head of government to military advisors to lawyers that are making targeting decisions, should be on clear notice that they will be required to justify every strike against every civilian object, whether it's a dwelling house or a school or a hospital.
Now, he says justifying each strike requires analysis and information proving that the target is no longer protected. But the trouble for Karim Khan and the International Criminal Court, though, is that when you look at the countries who have signed on to the court's jurisdiction, you will find the Palestinians in this list, but you will not find Israel. Now, the ICC believes it does have jurisdiction to investigate what's happening in Gaza, though Israel may never recognize the findings. So it is entirely possible that the case of whether Israel can legally target hospitals may be, for now, heard only in the court of public opinion. Scott McLean, CNN, London.